We're about to look at why the elites, the rich, the famous are no longer looked at the same since the release of the Epstein files. Before this time, you look at someone that's famous, you look at someone that's rich, and you look up to that person. They are someone that you strive to be like. But since the Epstein files have launched and we now have all of this extra information about what actually goes in at the upper echelon of Hollywood, if you want to even call that, many people have changed their minds and sentiment on those actors, actresses, and the ultra wealthy. Thank you guys so much for subscribing to the channel. Let's dive in.
The release of the Epstein files has given us more than just insight into the disgusting dealings of Jeffrey Epstein himself. It's revealed the biggest trove of evidence of elite collusion ever. Like seeing bugs writhing under a rock after the rock got moved because it's a pedophile or something. It looks like Epstein was deeply embedded in every major institution in our country. In tech, in finance, in charity, and even in politics and intelligence. And more importantly, he knew how to connect people between those fields. So despite people knowing full well about his hobbies, many people continued to work with him. I'm gonna answer a few questions you've probably been wondering. What did Epstein offer that was so appealing that people were willing to risk the ethical and PR nightmare to work with him? And how did the Epstein Network, in secret, shape the world we live in today?
I think some of the answers to those questions we may already know, especially for the sick-minded people that were looking for young women to spend some time with. That was clearly an incentive for them to be friendly with Epstein. Also, wanting to be a part of those ultra successful, financially successful groups. They're just people that other rich want to be around. But I'm curious to see what else he digs up.
It's a story of the ultra-wealthy elites demanding and protecting their own freedom, their own wealth, and their own privacy, while infringing on everyone else's.
It's a power structure that explains many other things that will be familiar to everybody watching.
We're going to literally shine a light on 5 of the people in the Epstein Network and examine not only how they built our world, but the parallel worlds they lived in that you don't have access to.
These are 5 people that you have never heard spoken of within the Epstein files before. 5 new names with new stories behind each one.
We'll start by just introducing some characters and then tell you what it all means. Let's start out simple with one of the names most associated with Epstein's crimes, Leon Black. Epstein's primary legitimate business was financial management. Rich people would give Epstein their money to invest, he'd advise them on how to protect their wealth from taxation and public scrutiny, and he'd take a little cut. One of Epstein's most prolific clients was Leon Black, the leader of Apollo Global Management, a major investment firm itself. Epstein was managing money for a money manager, like a barber's barber. But there are a lot of financial advisors and investors out there, and at least a few of them aren't registered sex offenders. So why Epstein? Was he particularly good at it? Well, he helped Black avoid over $1 billion in taxes. And in turn, Black paid Epstein massive fees. Some of the ways Epstein handled Black's money show his aptitude with hiding wealth and avoiding taxes. Epstein managed Black's charitable foundation, which was really a method of hiding Black's wealth from taxation. Epstein was paid in a similarly opaque way. Black transferred money to Epstein's foundation through the LLC Black had entirely for holding the ownership of his car collection.
That was $4,750,000 in fees for saving him billions avoiding taxes.
Jeffrey also managed Black's art collection, nearly $2.7 billion worth of valuable pieces, and heralded the strategy of storing cash wealth in art. Many of Black's owned artworks were kept in storage. No one got to even look at or enjoy them, not even Black. And they were used purely as financial instruments for bogus tax-deductible donations and as collateral for big cash loans. I spoke with Anand Giridharadas, who writes about the Epstein class for his outlet, The Ink. He explained why this is so frustrating even if you aren't a big art fan.
There's a kind of fantasy in America that we can't tax billionaires because it'll deprive all of us of ideas that are useful. Well, the emails provide a glimpse of what a lot of them are really thinking about, which is how to set up LLCs for the purchase of their paintings to avoid taxes and how to pass on money to their kids so their kids become oligarchs too.
These loans are a big part of the extravagant lifestyle these people live. Loans you have no access to because you don't own a Picasso or whatever. The parallel world of the wealthy. But this is pretty standard rich people stuff. So again, why Epstein?
It is pretty standard rich people stuff. You hear whenever someone has a lot of money, how they do different things, open up LLCs or have businesses, do charities to avoid the taxation. That's not abnormal. It's sometimes in a way looking like it's cheating the system, but it doesn't make you a completely bad person the way that Epstein was.
Let's keep looking. There's even women in Epstein's orbit, like Kathy Rumler. Rumler is a high-powered lawyer who frequently communicated with Epstein and called him Uncle Jeffrey. She was a lead lawyer for Goldman Sachs and worked in the Obama administration. Epstein was there for her when Rumler interviewed for a job at Facebook, and Epstein bought her lavish gifts. And she also just really isn't a great person.
She's describing driving from DC to New York, and she says something to the effect of, invariably I'll stop at a rest stop along the way, I'll get out, I'll see a bunch of people over 100 pounds overweight, and then it'll inspire me to never eat another bite of food in my life out of the fear of ever becoming like one of them. This is the attitude that a lot of people in this network have to you watching this at home, whether or not you realize it. It's people like this who are making decisions about what kind of policies we have in government, about the ways in which the banking sector interacts with the mortgage markets. It was just such a powerful distillation of the contempt that so many people in that super elite feel for the average person.
They look down on us. The average Joe is looked down upon by the upper elites, which are the majority of the people that are within the Epstein network.
But again, Rumler was already powerful when she met Epstein. What are any of these people really gaining from him? Let's look at another, Boris Nikolic. Nikolic was Epstein's in to the Gates Foundation. He served as Bill Gates' science and technology advisor and had frequent business and social contacts with Epstein. Yes, there are island visits and emails about girls, but there were also emails about using the Gates Foundation to hide money and direct untraceable donations. But Epstein was most obsessed with one form of charitable giving, the donor advised fund. He chases creating a DAF over half a decade, like Howard Ratner chasing down that opal.
Holy
Constantly bringing it up in every context. Donor-advised funds are basically bank accounts that people can put money in and write off as a charitable tax donation. The fund is then supposed to donate that money to nonprofits, but technically never has to. The donations they do make are attributed to the fund itself, making the original donor completely anonymous. And years after Epstein was registered as a sex offender, many people were interested in creating a DAF with him. Boris Nikolic worked on pulling Gates into it, and bankers at JP Morgan helped him put together a pitch. And Epstein's emails are important here because they prove what we all assume. The point was never altruism. The point was tax avoidance.
This is really coming together as Epstein being a master of tax avoidance, saving these billionaires millions, if not billions of dollars in tax fees to keep that money in their pockets. But you and me, my fellow Americans, and anyone else that's paying taxes anywhere in the world, make sure you pay your taxes or else the government's coming after us. Doesn't that sound a little crazy?
Epstein used his own charitable giving to fund out there science and to launder his image. His publicist put out numerous press releases referring to him as an education philanthropist and heralded him for bringing artificial intelligence to Ethiopia, which other emails confirm was a ploy to fix Epstein's Google search results, which were less than favorable. To dig in further, let's look at two more names that I'll pair together here. Tech billionaires from the PayPal mafia, who both went on to become major political donors, ostensibly on opposite sides. Reid Hoffman and Peter Thiel. This guy is in there too, but it really seems like he just wanted to go to the parties.
Who's that guy?
Thiel and Epstein exchanged a number of emails and seemed to be close both personally and professionally. From investment advice, Thiel told Epstein not to invest in Spotify and only gave him a maybe to investing in Thiel's own company, Palantir. Eventually, Epstein invested millions in Thiel's venture capital fund, Valar Ventures, which means that Epstein had holdings in Stash Financial, Anduril, the autonomous killing machine company, something called Brat Inc., and other big tech companies.
Brat TV. Interesting, a TV network that has young children on it. I wonder if this is going to tie in any way.
But Thiel's venture funds don't have a problem getting investors. So we still need to figure out what Epstein truly offered, and we'll get to that. Reid Hoffman also frequently communicated with Epstein. Again, both about money and just chillin'. Epstein advised Hoffman on
Chilling.
large luxury purchases, tried to wrangle him into the DAF scheme, and Hoffman was generally one of Epstein's ins to Silicon Valley. In 2015, Hoffman invited Epstein to an intimate dinner with himself, Musk, Thiel, Mark Zuckerberg, some neuroscientists, and a few others. Just months before over half that table would go on to found OpenAI, and AI was an interest of Epstein's. But this dinner epitomizes an important point here: the network. After PayPal, Hoffman created LinkedIn.
Reid Hoffman, an Epstein associate and founder of LinkedIn, has talked about in the future your career will be the network, not a job hierarchy.
And he, like Epstein, embodied the network. The network itself, not the individual people, is the key here. It's how they were all connected and what they all do for each other. And we can see that by using a new light. The kind of light you need when you're investigating this type of person, to see what they're really up to. It's connecting each other. And the less well-known people behind them maybe hold the real power now. Why did Peter Thiel want Epstein as one of his investors? Perhaps due to Thiel's many investments in defense and surveillance tech. Epstein had government connections and even introduced Thiel to William Burns, the one-time head of the CIA. Epstein also took the liberty of recommending Palantir to foreign officials in Israel and across the Middle East. One of Epstein's favorite tech investments was the Israeli tech company Carbine 911. Epstein helped connect the founders of Carbine with Trey Stevens, also of Palantir, who ended up on Carbine's advisory board. Carbine works to replace the 911 system with artificial intelligence.
You have to sit back and think for a second. They're mentioning some big tech names, some big company names, LinkedIn, social networks. It makes you believe that many of these successful companies, organizations, businesses are all corrupt, dealing with dirty money, and in this case, dirty people. I think that over time, we're in for a massive mind blow about how many of the companies that we regularly think of, look at, utilize are involved with this dirty money.
Live video, precise location, complete situational intelligence.
With little to no oversight over how the calls are handled privacy-wise. They were purchased by Axon, the makers of tasers and body cameras, and have begun getting contracts across the United States. So next time you call 911, you could be directed to an AI stemming from Jeffrey Epstein in Israel. Lesser known tech investors and CEOs like Epstein's publicist turned venture capitalist, Masha Drakova, communicated with him up until his arrest. Drakova's VC firm, Day One Ventures, which she built with the influence, input, and advice of Epstein, owns parts of dozens of tech companies, including Sam Altman's surveillance and crypto tech company World, and Calypso AI, whose founder, Neil Cerebriani, Drakova introduced to Epstein. Cerebriani particularly seemed to have no issue with Epstein's proclivities. Emails show multiple mentions of girls, and Cerebriani brags about going to the convention in the context of he and Epstein's shared interests. Calypso AI is an AI surveillance company that has contracts with the United States government. Some of these people must have faced consequences, right?
Right? We know the answer to that.
Well, yeah, our buddy Leon Black left Apollo in shame, but the new CEO, Mark Rowan, also communicated heavily with Epstein. Today, he's in the executive leadership of President Trump's Board of Peace, the organization responsible for continuing to annihilate the Palestinian people and replace their homes with private construction projects intended to enrich others in the Epstein Network. The power of this network, what Epstein and the rest of them could do for the people in the network, is why you rarely see anyone emailing him like, hey man, you shouldn't be doing all this stuff.
In our networked age, there is a sense that if you can get yourself to the heart of a network like this, the world is your oyster. And at the same time, if you fall out of the network, it is a kind of death.
We, the regular people, obviously shouldn't be emulating everything we see in these emails, but if we want to defeat this elite network, there's one thing we do need to do.
When you actually see the way they're functioning this network, they're all on the same team. There's this very powerful network of people who lobby and buy power and buy access and rig the world against regular people. And we're down here thinking that the guy 2 doors down from us is the biggest obstacle to our progress.
The real obstacle are the people that are creating the systems, running the systems, intertwining the systems, all for their own greater good. Honestly, not really caring very much about the common man.
And in fact, the guy 2 doors down from you is often just another of their victims.
The Epstein Network has billions of dollars, power, connections, planes, art, homes. But the most important thing they have is, and I'm sorry if this sounds corny, but it's class solidarity. And the story of this network doesn't end with Epstein's death. The Epstein class is still entrenching themselves into all aspects of our lives, taking us to a pointless war and trying to shape the elections that will determine America's future.
What he's saying right here is that the war is a distraction to what's going on with the Epstein files, because we're getting to a point with the files where they're going to be exposed and people in power are going to be brought down because of their names in the files and what they've done. So a distraction is being put in place. The distraction was actually planned and written in emails within the Epstein files. That's what he's talking about right now.
We're still living in the Epstein Network's world today. Leon Black's son, Ben Black, who Epstein hosted a birthday party for, and who Epstein hired a portrait artist for, is today in charge of the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation, a government body established during the first Trump administration that provides loans, capital, and insurance to American corporations abroad, using taxpayer dollars. That includes insurance for ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz, a focal point of the Iran war. Meaning a guy Epstein helped commission a painting of will decide which corporations get your tax dollars. As midterm elections approach, the Epstein Network is plotting to seize further control of our government. Reid Hoffman has spent hundreds of millions of dollars to oppose progressive candidates in Democratic primaries. He often uses donor-advised funds to make those donations, a tactic Epstein recommended to him in 2016. And it's possible we wouldn't have today's AI intrusion into our lives without Epstein. While I wasn't able to find any direct ties between Epstein and the heavy hitters like OpenAI or Anthropic, he did fund early AI research, including bankrolling the researchers who coined generative AI and AGI. He also made early investments in the infrastructure behind AI, like data center buildouts, that he never got to see come to fruition. Looking at these members of the Epstein class shows us that the conspiracy at the heart of our country's biggest problems aren't just about one man. It's about a network, a club of elites across every major industry and both political parties that have built a web of relationships with each other designed to keep the rest of us locked out.
It's important that we hear what he just said, both political parties, because this is not a political debate. This is not division between Republican and Democrat. People from both sides are working together for the same common good. They may not believe in everything politically aligned, but regarding Epstein-related things and the growth of our country and how the country is built, from the sounds of this, it seems like our government is being run by the Epstein Network. If you want to see a handful of new names that you probably haven't seen before ever mention the Epstein files, this video is going to expose all of them for you. I'll see you over there. More Perfect Union is the source of this video, and I've linked it down below.